Hey, thanks for tuning in. In this video, I would like to show you how you can set up version control with Azure DevOps for an Unreal Engine 5 project. So to use Azure DevOps for Git-based version control, you need three things. You need a Microsoft account to create an account on Azure DevOps. And a Microsoft account can be a Windows account, it can be an Office account. It should not be a GitHub account. Then you need Anchorpoint, an application to push and pull the files to Azure DevOps. You can also use another Git client, but this tutorial will focus on Anchorpoint. And then you need your Unreal Engine project. There is also an Anchorpoint Unreal Engine plugin that allows us to push files directly from Unreal Engine. So why should we go for Azure DevOps? And the reason is that Azure DevOps offers currently free unlimited storage. They have introduced it in 2015 and this policy is still valid. So Azure DevOps is part of the huge Microsoft Azure ecosystem. We don't need all the Azure services, we only need Azure DevOps, and I will show you how to get there. We have to go to portal.azure.com and then we have to log in with our Microsoft account. So here we are at the whole Azure backend, and Azure provides a lot of other services that can be also interesting for your game, for example, like cloud builds or certain gaming services. If you're interested in that, you can definitely explore all the Azure services that might be relevant for you. But in this case, we only look at Azure DevOps. Let us go to DevOps, and then we pick on Azure DevOps Organizations. And here we have to click on My Azure DevOps Organizations, and here we would like to create a new organization. Let us click on continue here. Then you have to enter the URL. So basically the name of your studio, for example, and then where your files should be hosted, and pick a location that is close to your working location. So for us, it's basically Europe. And then click on continue. And that's basically it. We are in our Azure DevOps organization. We don't need to do anything more. We will create all the projects directly from Anchorpoint. So let's get over to Anchorpoint. If you don't have the application, go to anchorpoint.app/download and download the Mac or the Windows version. Once you have created an Anchorpoint account and you have launched the application, let me bring it over. You need to connect to Azure DevOps. So if you have the application open, then go to your workspace settings and then click on integrations. And now pick Azure DevOps, and you have to click on the connect button here. It will ask us, do we have an Azure DevOps account? Yes, we have one, and now we'll set up the integration. The first thing will be the authorization. We click on this, the browser will open, and now Azure DevOps has to allow Anchorpoint to create, for example, new projects in there. I click on accept. This brings me back here. Now I have to pick the organization, and this will be the place where Anchorpoint will create a project. So we have created this new organization here, and now we click on next. One thing we need to enable in the Azure DevOps settings is the third-party application access via OAuth. So we have to do this, and we simply enable that switch. That's basically all. Now we have enabled that, and now we create a test repository. All right, and in this step, the last step, we have to verify the Git credentials. And these are the credentials by Git that allow us to push and pull files to Azure DevOps repositories. We need to log into Azure DevOps again. And now this pop-up comes up. That's basically the Git credential manager. We click on our account. And that's basically it. The integration is now connected. All right, now we're going to create our Git repository. So for that, I will go to the projects page, and then here you have a list of projects. Scroll down to the new project button, click on that, and now you have two options. We're going to select Git repository. We have to browse to our Unreal Engine project, and in the remote settings we pick new Azure DevOps repository, and as a template for Git ignore we pick Unreal Engine. So we pick this template here. The Git ignore is basically a file that excludes certain files and folders, for example, derived data cache and intermediate, from being uploaded, because it will just trash our repository with unnecessary stuff that can be generated locally. So we click on continue. This is the display name and Anchorpoint. We can leave it as it is. And now I would like to invite a new team member. So for that, I click on send invite, and this person will be then also added to Azure DevOps as well. And now we're going to click on create project. So it will create the project on Azure DevOps first, and then it will create it on Anchorpoint. Depending on the Anchorpoint version, you are either at the timeline or at the changed files page. So if you're at the timeline, click on changed files, and here you will see all your Unreal Engine related files. What we're going to do right now is to upload them to Azure DevOps, and we're going to type in a message. And the typical message, what you do when you upload things for the first time, you name this initial commit. And then we click on sync. So now the commit is done. We could, in theory, continue working in Unreal Engine because it's currently pushing the files here in the background. Alright, the push is successful and we can check if the files are on DevOps. For that we go to Product Settings, we click on Git and then we click on Visit. Alright, here are our files that we pushed from Anchorpoint. So now we would like to make some modifications and push them through the Unreal Engine integration. So for that, let's go to Unreal Engine and you have to install the Anchorpoint plugin. The link is in the description below. So once you have installed that, you can click on Revision Control and then connect to Revision Control and then pick Anchorpoint. Now here you need to accept the settings. And that's basically it. So the connection to the desktop application is established. One thing that you keep in mind when working with Unreal Engine is to use external actors. So if you go to the world settings and type in external actors, make sure that this is enabled. The reason why we're going to do is that we're going to split the whole level into small little actor files, and this will make our commits much lighter. All right, let's make some modifications. We're going to click on Save. And now it will ask us to check out an asset. We would like to check out this. Make some modifications here, check this out as well. And we're going to check this out as well. Now, just for a check, you can look it up in Anchorpoint. If you go to your changed files again, you can see these modifications here and that these files have also been locked. We can push this from Anchorpoint, but we can also do this from the Unreal Engine integration. If you go to Unreal Engine, we click on Revision Control, Submit Content, and now we need to write a meaningful description. And now we simply click on Submit. And that's basically it. So if you go to Anchorpoint, the files have been submitted and we have another commit message here. So in the next step, I would like to switch the site to my team member and show you how to join the project and collaborate on there. So here I am on the machine of my team member. The first thing what you need to do as a team member, you need to accept an Azure DevOps invite that you got via email. So we check the email and we see that we have been invited to an Azure DevOps organization, and then we need to click on Join Now. And here, of course, you need to log in. Then you should also see the project that you assigned on. Now it's time to pull the data to Anchorpoint. So we launch Anchorpoint. And now we are getting an invitation that we need to accept. And we should be navigated directly into the project. If that's not the case, you can go on the list of projects and here you have basically the project that you can double click on. Then we need to click on Join Git repository. And we have access to the repository. When we click on View Online, it should bring us to the repository. We have access to this. And now let's check the Git credentials. And now we need to log into Azure DevOps from Anchorpoint. And here we do the same login procedure as well. So now you can pick a place where you would like to download the project. And then you click on Join. It will download the Git repository. And that's basically it. Now we have access to the versions and now you can also make changes and commit them.